The easiest way to win games in Madden 26 is to make fewer mistakes than your opponent. My name is Spruce, and I run the #1 Madden coaching site where I help over 1,000 active members win more games, and in this video, I'm breaking down the 7 biggest mistakes that I see way too many Madden players make. These mistakes are super easy to fix, and once you do, you'll instantly see yourself start winning way more games. So if that sounds good to you, then let's get started. So starting off at number 1, way too many Madden players don't understand how to properly use clearout routes. And so right here, I'm in the formation gun tight open, and this is the play bench. The defense is in shaded down cover 3, and a mistake that way too many players will make is they'll look at this play on offense and say, oh, I've got corner routes. This is a great way to attack shaded down cover 3. And it might sound good in theory, but it's sadly incorrect. So if we go ahead and snap this ball and try to throw to our corner route, even with a pass lead down and outside, you can see that that outside third defender is there to make a play on that receiver. And so how can we actually get our corner routes open against something like a shaded down cover 3? And the simple answer is you need a clearout route. And a clearout route is simply going to be a streak or a slot fade on that side of the field that's going to push back the defender in the outside third, the outside quarter, the deep half, whatever deep blue zone is out there. That route is going to push that defender back, and it's going to open up space for the corner route, the crosser, or whatever route you're trying to throw underneath. So if we go ahead and snap this ball right here, this time you're going to see that our corner route is wide open because of the streak acting as a clearout route, which drove back the defender in the outside third and opened up space for our corner route underneath. You can see right here, the streak is going to force that outside third defender to run back, and there's a ton of space now underneath for us to hit our corner route for easy yards along the sideline. This is not a revolutionary concept, but you'd be surprised how many people send me route combos and they've got all kinds of corners and crossers and routes they want to get open along the sidelines, but they don't pair it with a clearout route. And if you don't do that, then there's a good chance that route is going to be covered. And so you need to use clearout routes to get your routes open underneath along the sidelines. Now let's get a little bit more technical. Not every streak that you put on the field is going to work as a clearout route. Your streak has to be far enough outside that it's actually going to push back an outside third or an outside quarter defender. And so for a perfect example, as we just saw, on the left side of the field, our streak is on the numbers and it was plenty far outside in order to drive back that cornerback in the outside third. But if we were to do the exact same thing on the right side of the field, and in this case, you can see that our streak is well inside the numbers. It's probably closer to the hash than it is the numbers. What you're going to see this time is that the streak is not going to push back the cornerback in the outside third. He is going to actually get passed off to the middle third safety, meaning the outside third defender is going to pick up the corner route, and he's still going to be able to make a play. And so you have to look at where your clearout route is located. And a good rule of thumb is that you want your clearout routes to at least be outside enough that they're on the numbers. And if they're going to be inside the numbers, you want them to be closer to the numbers than they are to the hash marks. If you have a case like we just saw on the right side where your streak is closer to the hash marks than it is the numbers, then he's not going to pull back outside thirds and outside quarters. Now, if you want to run these corner routes with a clearout route to the wide side of the field and you're in a formation like gun tight open right here, you really have 2 options. The first and easiest option is to simply motion this streak out, because now, as you can see, he's obviously going to be outside enough to drive back the outside third defender, and now your corner route will be wide open underneath. So that's one solution. However, the one problem with motioning him out is that that's a little bit of a tell when you motion him outside. A good player will be like, oh, he's very obviously trying to run a streak and corner route combo to this side of the field. And so the sneakier thing that you can do if you have this situation on the wide side of the field is take your outside receiver and don't put him on a streak, but put him on a slot fade. And now with the slot fade, he's going to run outside enough that he will actually drive back that defender in the outside third or the outside quarter. Now, because of the spacing, sometimes you'll want to take your corner out and maybe custom stem him down by 1 click on the D-pad, and that way they're not running into each other late in the route. But this is a great way to use clearout routes to pull or to push back outside thirds and outside quarters on the wide side of the field. And then it's just a pass lead down and outside, and you have your easy catch along the sidelines. So that is how to properly use clear out routes in your games. Like I said, it's a mistake that way too many Madden players make, but once you understand how to properly use clear out routes, then you will build way better route combos and your offense will be way more efficient in all of your games. Now, if you're tired of losing games and want to know exactly what plays and adjustments you should be using to start winning, then definitely check out our strategy website, PlaybookProfessor.gg. That's where we have full offensive and defensive game plans that are proven to help players just like yourself win more games. You'll be joining our community of over 1,000 active members, and over 98% of players surveyed said they won more games after signing up. If you want to unlock everything you need to start dominating right now, the link is at the top of the description, and be sure to use code SPRUCE to get 30% off. And now, back to the video. Now at number 2, don't make the mistake of trying to guess the specific coverage of the defense before the snap. And so right here, I want to play a little game with you guys. Tell me what coverage you think the defense is in. And a lot of people will say, oh, there's a single high safety. This must be cover 1 or cover 3. Then they'll say, oh, the defensive backs are not all perfectly aligned. You've got some that are further back than others. This is clearly cover 3. And that's pretty sound reasoning. But unfortunately, it's completely wrong because this is cover 2. And all I had to do in order to achieve this was use a very simple feature in the game called custom coverage shells. And if we go ahead and go into the play call screen, you can see that we have an option below our plays where I can just move my right stick left or right and choose any coverage shell I want for the defense. And good players will use custom coverage shells to disguise their defense when they are in zone coverage and match coverage. So right there, I was simply in a cover 3 shell while calling Tampa 2, and it works the other way as well. I could do a cover 2 shell and then come out in cover 3 sky, and it's gonna be the exact same thing. If you look at the play pre-snap, you'd say, oh, 2 high safeties, that's cover 2 or cover 4. Oh, the outside cornerbacks are at 5 yards depth. Clearly, this is cover 2, but it's actually cover 3. And so you should not be trying to guess what coverage the defense is in before the snap, because good players will disguise their coverage and not let you do that. And so you may be asking, well, if I'm not supposed to guess what coverage the defense is in before the snap, what am I supposed to do? And the simple answer is that you want to make an educated guess about whether the defense is in man coverage or zone coverage. And that's it. You're not going to guess, oh, it's cover 0, cover 1, cover 2 man. You're not going to guess, oh, it's cover 2, cover 3, cover 4. You're going to look at the field and say, this is man coverage or this is zone coverage. And the reason is that if you know it's man coverage or zone coverage, you can use man beating routes or zone beating concepts that work against any type of man coverage or zone coverage. If your opponent is in man coverage, it doesn't matter what kind of man coverage they're in, you're still gonna be able to beat it with drags, slants, zigs, return routes, corner routes, crossers. All those routes are still gonna be great against man coverage, regardless of what kind of man coverage it is. And if your opponent is in zone coverage, then our zone beating concepts like flood concepts and high lows are always going to work as well. And so you may be saying, okay, that sounds great and everything. I need to know if the defense is in man or zone coverage, but how do I know that? And usually the alignment of the slot cornerbacks against your slot receivers will give away whether your opponent is in man or zone coverage. And so right here, this is very obviously zone coverage because we can see that the slot cornerbacks are not lined up perfectly across from our slot receivers. And sometimes I like to just go ahead and put them on streaks. And that way it can let me easily see visually whether or not they are perfectly squared up to them. And you can see both slot cornerbacks are not perfectly squared up to the slot receivers. That's usually a pretty good tell that it's not man coverage. However, if we audible over to man coverage, you can see this time it's a very different story. Both of the slot cornerbacks are lined up directly across from the slot receivers that they're guarding. That is a very obvious tell that this is man coverage. And now you may be asking, well, what about those custom coverage shells that you mentioned earlier? And the answer is that in man coverage, people will typically not use custom coverage shells because when you do, you basically give up all your leverage in man coverage and you're just asking to get cooked. And so while people can use custom coverage shells in man coverage, and it can maybe occasionally trick their opponent, it's not something you want to consistently do because you're just going to be making your man coverage worse. And so in man coverage, people will be running default coverage shells. And when they do that, there are very obvious signs that they are in man coverage. And so overall, to drive home the point of this tip, please don't guess specific coverages that the defense is in before the snap. make an educated guess about whether it's man coverage or zone coverage, and then build an appropriate route combo to attack that type of coverage. And when you do that, you will find yourself moving the ball way more effectively because you're not assuming that you know exactly where the defenders are going to be after the ball is snapped. Now, moving on to number 3, this is the worst mistake you can make on the defensive side of the ball. If you are usering with a D lineman, you are not playing good defense. It's tough for some people to hear, but it is the truth. You should always be using with a linebacker over the middle of the field. That's going to allow you to guard multiple routes on a play and play way better coverage than if you just leave it to the CPU. And I know some people really love getting on a D lineman and doing their swim moves and their bull rush moves or whatever, but the honest reality is that when you're using the D line, you're not really getting in there any faster than the CPU D line will get in on its own. And so you are simply not even participating on defense if you're using on the D line. Now, to show you an example of what a difference it can make using in coverage versus not using in coverage, I want to show you guys this very simple route combo right here against shaded down cover 3. And so for this first rep, I'm just going to leave my user on the D lineman. I'm not going to be doing pass rush moves. I only have 2 hands, but I want to show you guys just how easy it is to beat this shaded down cover 3 when your opponent is not using in coverage. And so we're going to go ahead and just snap this ball. What you're going to see is that the sit route is going to be wide open on the outside, and there's going to be nobody covering it. Now, if we look at the replay, what we can see is that this middle linebacker, number 45, he is initially pulled inside by this shallow crosser. It's almost just like an in route, honestly. And even though at this point, the tight end has passed him by, like right here, he really doesn't have to guard anymore. It is now passed off to the other linebacker. However, he does not turn and run to the next closest receiving threat, which is this receiver right here. He just kind of stands in the middle of the field and does nothing. As a result, we're able to very easily hit that sit route for a huge completion. Now, let's do this again, but this time we are going to user with this linebacker. And it's very, very tough to do this with 2 hands and 2 controllers, but I'm going to try. And so we're going to go ahead and snap the ball. We're going to initially cover that route, and then we're going to get over to the sit route. And you can see that we were going to have it guarded if we had gotten the ball off. But right there, that was another good example, real quick, guys, where the pass rush is super fast, even without you user rushing. Look at that 4-man pass rush where I wasn't even on the D line, and they still came in super quick. That's just another example of why you don't need to be using on the D line, because they're going to come in anyway. But let's try this one more time. Let's see if we can actually get a throw off. Go ahead and snap this ball. We cover this route initially, and then we get over to here, and now we have a deflection, and if we got better animation, it would have been an interception. And so when you are good at using over the middle of the field, you truly can guard multiple routes at once. You see right there, we sat on the first route, we got over to the next route, and we made a play on the ball. And again, in a better animation situation where we use 2 hands instead of 1, that's going to be an interception. I'll say it one more time, guys. If you are using on the D line, then you are not playing effective defense, or at the very least, you're not playing defense as effectively as you could if you were using over the middle of the field. I know some people are like, oh, I'm just really bad at it. Well, guess what? Everyone starts off being bad at it. You have to get a bunch of reps in to get good at it. So please don't be scared of using over the middle, except that it might take a few games or maybe even a lot of games to get good at it. But once you do get those reps in, you will see yourself improve. You'll see yourself playing way better defense. So please, everybody, use it with a linebacker over the middle of the field. Stop using on the D line, and you will find yourself playing way better defense and therefore winning way more games. Now at number 4, everyone is wrong about the best way to run prevent defense. Most Madden players think that man 3 deep is the best prevent defense, but it turns out this coverage is super easy to bomb for a 1-play touchdown. With this route combo right here, you're going to see that our corner route from the inside trips receiver is going to be wide open over the top, and that is about as easy as a touchdown can get. And so first, I want to show you guys what this route combo is, and then we'll talk about what we should actually be running for prevent defense. And so to do this bomb, I am in trips tight end, but you can do this in pretty much any trips formation. We're going to max protect, which is going to block the tight end and the running back. we're going to take our inside trips receiver and put him on a corner route and then custom stem him up on the D-pad by 4 clicks. Now we're going to take our middle trips receiver and put him on a post, and take our outside trips receiver and put him on an out route, then custom stem him up by 3 clicks on the D-pad. Now, yes, that is a lot of adjustments, but if you want to bomb 3-man deep for a 1-play touchdown at the end of a half or the end of a game, that's what it's going to take. Now, the reason this gets so open is that man 3 deep has built-in shaded underneath man coverage. So all of these defensive backs lined up across from the receivers, they are going to be playing underneath the receivers. And the thinking is that they play underneath, and then the deep blue zones play over the top. You've got these receivers bracketed, and there's nowhere to throw to. The problem is that these outside third zones are super easy to manipulate. And so the outside third on the left side, we're going to pull him down with the out route from our outside trips receiver. And then the middle third is going to be held inside by the post route from our middle trips receiver. And then as a result, there's no one over the top on the deep left to guard our corner route. And so if we go ahead and snap this ball, you're going to see that we're going to have a ton of time to throw against the 3-man rush. And then once he gets to his break, you just pass lead that over the top, and that is an easy touchdown against man 3 deep. So what prevent defense should you be running in these situations? And for that, let's go to the play call screen. And so instead of man 3 deep, you should just be running the one that's called prevent, the one with the 5 deep blues on the field. This play is much tougher to bomb than any of the others. So let's call prevent, and we'll try this route combo once again. And I'm not saying it's impossible to bomb prevent. I'm just saying it's much tougher. So we'll do the exact same route combo. We will get our corner route stemmed up by 4 clicks on the D-pad. We'll get our post. We'll get our out route stemmed up by 3 clicks on the D-pad. Now, if you were to just run this with your user on a D lineman here, then this mid-read will actually match onto the corner route and play pretty good coverage. Usually, though, against a normal player, they'll be usering with this mid-read, and they're going to be expecting you to run a bomb that's coming from left to right. So usually, they'll get distracted by this post, and they'll kind of run this way. I'm just going to go ahead and spy out this guy right here to simulate him being the user, because most of the time, he's not going to be using that corner route. Now, what you're going to see here is that the outside fifth, that really is an outside fifth, will get pulled down by the out route, but it still gives a fighting chance for our middle 2/5 defender, the second fifth from the left. He still has a decent chance of actually guarding the corner route. If we go ahead and run this once again, you're going to see that the outside fifth stays down, and even though there is a little bit of space, you see it's a much tougher throw. The window is much smaller. And so I'll go ahead and do it once again, and you're going to see that if I throw it sooner, I was trying to wait because I didn't want to throw an interception, but that's the thing about when you're in prevent defense right here, like true prevent, you're going to see it's just so much tougher to hit that window. So I'll throw it a little bit earlier this time, and we're going to see if I throw it earlier, then there's a chance of that guy actually making a play on the ball. You see right there, it was knocked away. And so while there technically is a window there, the window now is so small that it's extremely tough to hit consistently. Much tougher to hit than what we saw against 3-man deep. So this is why you should be running this as your prevent defense, because this is going to make it as tough as possible for people to actually bomb you for a 1-play touchdown when you're running prevent. And let's see if I can hit this right here. And once again, yeah, as you can see, I think that was about as perfect as I could time it. I think any later and we're throwing that ball out of bounds. And so even with that outside fifth getting pulled down, and even with perfect timing and a pass lead outside, you can see that it is still guarding this 1-play touchdown. And so against man 3 deep, that's the easiest 1-play touchdown you'll ever have. Against true prevent, you can see that it's not really working out so well. So that's why you should always be in true prevent and not man 3 deep. Man 3 deep, you're just asking to give up a 1-play touchdown. In prevent, it's going to be extremely difficult for your opponent to hit anything deep. So please run prevent, get out of man 3 deep, and you will avoid tragically giving up a 1-play touchdown at the end of a game. Now, moving on to number 5, way too many Madden players make the mistake of not having a goal line offense. You should always have short yardage plays in your arsenal, and the play I'm going to show you right here comes from our Jaguars offense game plan on PlaybookProfessor.gg. Now the play is whips in the formation gun bunch tight end, and you always want to have your formation flipped so that your bunch receivers are lined up on the wide side of the field. Now before the snap, there are only 2 adjustments that we are going to make. We're going to take our outside bunch receiver and put him on a flat route, but then take our middle bunch receiver and put him on a corner route and custom stem that corner route all the way down. Now our reads on this play are just going to be the corner route and the 2 whip routes. We don't really want to read the flat routes because if it's man coverage, the flat routes are covered. And if it's shaded down zone coverage, which is how everyone will play zone coverage inside the 5-yard line, those flat routes will also be covered. And so we don't want to bother reading the flat routes. We're just going to focus on the corner route and the 2 whip routes. So we'll go through all the different coverages that people will run. And to start, we're going to play some pressed man coverage. This is pressed cover 1 right here. If we go ahead and snap this ball, we can see that our stemmed down corner route does an amazing job of beating man coverage to the outside for an easy touchdown. Now, your whip routes also have a chance of beating man coverage, but it could be a little bit hit or miss. The corner route's definitely going to be the best option. If we go ahead and snap this ball once again, you'll be able to see that in this case, we had our whip route open on the left, and in some cases, the tight end whip route will also get open on the right side. It partially depends on the route running ratings of your receivers and the man coverage ratings of the defensive backs, but as you can see right here, he got some separation here. I'd say that the tight end didn't do super well, but sometimes he will get separation. But we got the separation right here on this whip route, and also we had it again on the corner route as well. And so against man coverage, we are just fine. And this is basically 3 really solid man being routes on the play. Let's talk about zone coverage. So let's go to some shaded down cover 3. And so that's going to be this right here. And in this case, you're pretty much only going to be reading your 2 whip routes. And it's extremely difficult for the defense to guard these whip routes because there's always going to be a window. Sometimes the window is early, sometimes the window is late. But you see right there that in the late window, there was pretty much no one around in that part of the end zone. You can actually see that we had a late window to both of them. And so the pass lead down is, of course, important. But like if it was this tight end here, as long as you pass lead it down, and put the ball maybe on the bottom of the A and the R right here, there's no chance for that safety to make a play on it. But we did the same thing on this side as well. We just passed that ball down, and that is an easy completion. Now, if we go to shaded down cover 2 for the defense, this is definitely going to be the best defense against this. So here's the shaded down cover 2, but there's still going to be a window to hit one of the whip routes. And so if we run this right here, in this case, we can see that there is a window to hit the whip route on the left side. Not a super huge window, but there's still a window nonetheless. And so as long as you are ready to hit that tight window, then you'll be just fine throwing to that whip route. And like I said, yeah, the shaded down cover 2 is definitely going to be the best defense against this, but you see that we had no problem hitting that. Now, if you want to be a little bit risky, and if you're a little bit further out, then the corner route can hit the back corner of the end zone. From the 3-yard line, I wouldn't really want to throw this, but if you're maybe on like the 7 or 8-yard line, then the corner route absolutely can hit the back corner of the end zone because this is a hard flat right here. So he's going to be playing just a couple yards off the line of scrimmage. And then in that case, he's not going to be able to play this corner route going to the back corner of the end zone. Like I said, from the 3-yard line up to you, you can always try and highball it. It's possible, just not necessarily a throw I would recommend making unless you absolutely have to, but it's always an option as well. But like I said, most of the time we're going to be hitting one of these whip routes, and just having these double whip routes is just so incredibly valuable to have. And so that's why I love to play whips in gun bunch tight end as a short yardage play, because especially if your opponent is in man coverage, then they're going to have absolutely no shot of shutting this down. If they're running some shade down zone coverage, then the throws are a little bit tougher. But as long as you make your reads, then you'll be just fine, and you'll be punching the ball into the end zone. Now, moving on to number 6, don't ever put your linebackers in a middle third zone assignment. Now, this is very situational, but there are some cases where players will want to put linebackers in middle thirds, but they're just asking to get bombed over the top. So first, let's talk about a situation when you'd want to use a linebacker in a middle third. Let's say you wanted to run shaded down cover 2. Well, the issue with shaded down cover 2 is that if you don't make any other adjustments, your mid-read is just going to play 5 yards off the line of scrimmage and give up a ton of easy yards over the middle. So obviously, we don't want to give that up. So what people will do is they'll be like, okay, I want to shade down cover 2, but obviously I want to guard the deep middle. So I'll take this linebacker and I'll put him in a middle third. Well, the issue with that is that linebackers in middle thirds have very, very slow dropbacks. And what's going to happen is that even though he's supposed to be guarding the middle third, he's still going to get beat over the top and give up a one-play touchdown. And if we go back and look at the animation, you can actually see that at the snap, rather than turning and running, he's going to do this slow backpedal. He's going to backpedal, backpedal, backpedal. And it's not until the receiver's already passing him that he tries to turn and run. But at that point, it's too late and you gave up the touchdown. And so how do you guard the deep middle if you want to run something like cover 2? Well, the first thing is you can simply not shade your coverage down. If you don't shade your coverage down, that mid-read is going to turn and run right when the ball is snapped. You can see that right here. He's just going to turn and run, and now there's no chance of throwing to that streak. Well, yeah, I was going to say he might have caught it, but you see that the linebacker was not getting burned over the top. But the other thing you can do, let's say you do want to run shaded down cover 2, but you still want to guard the deep middle. What you can do is you can custom zone stem this mid-read all the way up. So to do that, you'll have him selected, you'll press A on Xbox or X on PlayStation, hold down LB or L1, and then hit up on the left stick or the D-pad as many times as you want, and now you'll put him back to the specific spot that you want him to guard. And so when he's custom zone stemmed up, even if your other zones are shaded down, he's still going to turn and run just like we saw before, and now you'll have great coverage over the middle of the field. And I mean, I guess he still caught it because the game loves to reward catches in traffic, but as you can see, he was actually in position to make a play. And so very kind of like niche tip, but very important, guys. Don't put this middle linebacker on an inside third because he will get beat deep. Ironically enough, the mid-read, the stock mid-read, if you didn't shade down, is going to be better. And then if you did shade down, just custom zone stem him all the way up, and that's going to be the best coverage of all. And so that's how you can make sure your linebackers don't get beat deep over the middle of the field. And finally, at number 7, way too many players lose games because they can't beat press man coverage. So right here, I have the defense in shaded down, pressed, pass committed, cover 2 man, which is the toughest defense in the game for some people to beat. I'm going to show you 2 very simple ways to absolutely destroy press man coverage. And the first one is going to be one of our setups out of our Commanders offense ebook on PlaybookProfessor.gg, and that is the play H wheel in the formation gun spread. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put both of our slot receivers on drags and just put our left side outside receiver on a streak. Now, double drags are one of the best ways in the entire game to destroy press man coverage. Not only are drags really great man-beating routes on their own, but when you have 2 drags crossing the field in opposite directions, there's a really good chance that you can create bumping over the middle, and that's going to free up one or both of your receivers for easy yards. Now, the other reason I love this play is that we do have a man-beating route on this post route on the outside. Now, it doesn't do as well against pressed man coverage, but we always want to have it on the field just in case it gets separation. So if we go ahead and run some reps, we are going to see that in this case, our drag from our left side slot receiver completely cooked the man coverage, and that is an easy completion. I'm going to go ahead and do it once again. I'm going to press, shade underneath, and pass commit. So this is like real man coverage. I'm not like cheating or anything. We're going to do 2 drags once again. We're going to do a streak on the outside, and we go ahead and snap this ball. And once again, you saw both of our drags completely cooked that time. And that, once again, is an easy completion. Now, a little side note that you guys should know about, a little trick for beating press man coverage that a lot of people don't know, is that you will do way better against press man coverage running your man-beating routes with off-ball receivers rather than on-ball receivers. And so when I say off-ball and on-ball, what I'm talking about is that this receiver is lined up 1 yard off the line of scrimmage. I'm talking about our slot receiver right here. You can see that there's a big gap between him and the defensive back trying to press him. That's not the case for our outside receiver. He is going to get jammed the moment the ball is snapped. Whereas our receiver who's off the ball, he's going to get not a free release, but he has all this space to kind of get a running start and then beat the man coverage. And when you have man-beating routes on off-ball receivers, that's going to make it way easier for them to get separation because this defensive back can't put hands on them right away before they get their running start. And so that's just a little side note that off-ball receivers are always going to do better at beating man coverage than on-ball receivers. But at the same time, on-ball receivers can still beat man coverage just fine as well if they have good enough route running ratings and you put them on the right routes. We'll go ahead and run it one more time just so you can see once again. But these drags are just absolutely cooking the press man coverage. and they really have no shot of guarding us, and they're going to have to switch into something else. Now, the other thing you can do to beat press man coverage is go through your running back. And in a similar sense, the running back is someone who cannot get pressed because they're starting in the backfield. And so if we just ignore the rest of these receivers and just look at the running back, we could put the running back on an in route, on an out route, or even a Texas route, and he's going to completely cook the man coverage as well. So like right there, you can see that the Texas route obliterated the linebacker who was in the man coverage against him. And so that's something to keep in mind as well. Sometimes, of course, your opponent will user with that linebacker. So if they're usering the running back, then the man being routes aren't going to be as effective. And you'll just do things like the double drags that we talked about. But if your opponent is usering anywhere else, then just put an in route, an out route, or a Texas route on your running back, and that's going to cook the man coverage as well. And so, in short, the easiest way to beat press man coverage is use people who can't get jammed. Because if they can't get jammed and they get a free release, then their man beating routes are going to run super clean and have a very high chance of getting separation. And so those are two very simple ways to beat press man coverage. And once you're beating press man coverage a few times, your opponent's going to get out of it because they're just going to be getting absolutely cooked and giving up tons of yards every single play. And so hopefully that helps you guys out and you'll never have to struggle against press man coverage ever again. So those are 7 huge mistakes that you can fix to instantly start winning more games in Madden 26. Now we talked a little bit in this video about passing, but if you want to learn everything you need to know about passing the ball as effectively as possible, I strongly recommend watching this video right here where I break down the 8 passing secrets I wish I learned way sooner in Madden 26. Watch that and you'll instantly take your passing game to the next level.